Alright, good afternoon guys. We are back with the tribute truck, and my buddy wants to light this thing up. And what I mean by that is we're going to put amber LEDs down the side of each board on the side of the truck, 3 lights per board, and we're going to do 2 lights per board on the back in red. So there'll be 8 per side in the back for a grand total of 16, and then 12 ambers along each side. So what we're doing is he wants a real clean look to this. No exposed wiring, pretty much all condensed. So what we did was I went out and got some 18 gauge wire, 2 wire here, and then we got some braided wire loom so that it stays nice and neat. I didn't like the plastic stuff with it that's kind of split in 2. This stuff is braided. It's kind of a pain in the butt to put on, but once it's on, and it's got a nice clean look to it. Now, since this is going to be exposed to the elements, we want to make sure that any joint that we have is going to make sure that it's completely watertight. So what I'm doing is I'm going to solder each joint. I'm not going to use butt connectors. So we're going to solder each joint, and then I'm going to shrink tube each joint so that we never have an issue with water penetration. So I'm just going to give you a little show here of how we're going to set this up, give you a rundown once it's done, and then later on, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be posting another video or a couple of pictures of this thing actually all put together and mounted on the truck. But we got our shrink tubing, 2 pieces of that. We got 2 wires coming from the amber light. These are LEDs. So the truck will probably rot out and fall apart before these things will ever die, for the amount of time he's going to be using them. So what we're going to do is we're going to stagger our joints also. What I did was I went and cut a groove. See if you can see it here. You can see the groove. On each board, I cut a 1/4 inch groove down each one, leading up to each light. And there's, like I said, there's 3 points along this whole length. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these wires, we're going to put them in with this, and then once we're done, we're going to lay them in this track. When it's done, it's going to have a nice, clean, neat look. You'll never see them. And it'll be completely protected from the elements. But since we're dealing with just a small groove, a 1/4 inch, we're going to stagger them. So instead of having 2 flush ends, we're going to cut them at different lengths so that they fit inside the track nice and neat. Now, learning the hard way, I found out most people would think black to black and red was being positive, the white would be positive. On this setup, it's not. This setup, the white is actually the negative and the black is the positive. Like I said, learned the hard way. So what we're going to do first is we're going to tie our positives together. So the red main lead wire going in with the black. So what I'm going to do is I want to keep these just a little bit longer. I'll take my dikes and cut off a small length. I'm going to strip this back. Twist the wires together. Do the same thing with the black on this side. Like I said, learn the hard way. The black is actually the positive. When we're done, we're going to test for continuity the entire length. At each joint, I test for continuity. I don't want to put this thing all together tomorrow, get it all mounted on the truck, and find out half the lights don't work. That would ruin my day. So, we'll take the 2 wires, run our shrink tube through, take the 2 wires and twist them together. can see I'm kind of a mess here. It's kind of a warm day today, and I was just outside cutting a groove in the front bar of the headache rack for that truck, so we're going to hide all the wiring up there too. I'm just going to use a different type of hiding system. We're actually going to use some dowel, painted to match, sealed and everything, so that it's all going to be, I'm going to use the dowel to hide it. We take our iron, now we get our wires all twisted together. I'm going to heat up the iron, heat our wiring up. Okay. A little messy here on the back side with a drip. I'm going to heat that up. Just clean up the overage there. Alright. A little bit too much on that back side, it looks like. Okay. Now I'll show you the joint that we just made. You can see that that is completely covered in solder. I don't want to ever have to worry about this thing failing. So, we'll give that a second to cool down because it is hot. And this thing is as hard as a rock now. That is now permanently fused together. So, now we're just going to fold it over, run our shrink tubing up to it. Right. Now we got our shrink tubing put on there. Take our torch, light that up a little bit. Just real quick go over it, you don't need a lot. That's that. Okay, now you can see, got a nice tight joint here. Completely sealed from the elements. We'll never have to worry about that. So, now that we got that done, take our little meter here. I'm going to set it up for continuity. Now, probably should have done this before it was sealed, but it's still going to work. So I'm just going to touch the end to end. You can hear the beep. That tells me that we got juice flowing all the way through. So we don't have to worry about that joint failing. Now we're going to do this for each joint, like I said, 3 lights per board. I've got 5 of them already done. This is number 6. I got 2 more to do. Then the back doors. And then mount it up tomorrow. So, should be pretty cool. I'm going to put a separate disconnect on it so that in case he ever has to take the rack off the truck, it'll simple one plug, unplug the whole system, and away it goes. We're going to hide the switch into a kind of a stock looking location on the dashboard, and should look like a nice clean factory install when we're done. So thanks for watching, and I'll show you another one tomorrow when this thing is all done and lit up. Should be pretty interesting. Thanks for watching.